Hello, everybody. I'm going to read you a story this morning called Jack and the Beanstalk. It's a traditional tale. Traditional tales are stories that have been told for many, many years, sometimes hundreds of years. Nobody knows who first told the story, who first wrote it down. So now people just tell it as they remember it themselves. So my grandma told it to my mum told it to me. And today I'm going to tell it to you, but I'm going to read somebody else's version today. And in class, sometimes I tell you stories that are traditional without reading a book, don't I? But today I'm going to. And I want you to watch out for words that have our phonemes of the week in them. You can always go back and look at the pages after we've finished listening. So Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time, there lived a boy called Jack. He lived in a cottage with his mother, and their most valuable possession was a cow called Daisy. Daisy provided fresh milk for Jack and his mother every day, and they loved her very much. But one day, very sadly, the day came when Jack and his mother had no money left. They were very poor, and can you see, looking at Jack's clothes, how raggedy they are? That tells us just how little money they had, I think. Jack's mother told him that he would have to take Daisy to the market to sell her. Jack was distraught, but he knew they had no choice. He set off for the market with Daisy, feeling very sorrowful. On the way to the market, Jack met a man. The man had a large curly moustache and was wearing a sparkly yellow cloak. He stared with interest at Daisy and then said, "What a fine cow you have there, Jack." "How do you know my name?" asked Jack, confused. "Oh, I know a lot of things," chuckled the mysterious man. "For example, I know that these beans that I have here in my hand have magical powers." Maybe it was magic that let him know Jack's name. "I will give you these incredible beans in exchange for your cow," suggested the man. "When you plant them, they will grow right up to the sky within just a few hours." "Oh no," replied Jack. "Daisy is all me and my mother have, and I must get a good price for her at the market today." "Without these beans, you'll never have to worry about money again," said the man persuasively. At last, Jack gave in and swapped Daisy for the beans. When Jack arrived back at his house, he skipped excitedly into the kitchen. "Are you back already, Jack?" gasped his mother. "I do hope you've got a good price for Daisy. That was quick." "Better than that, Mother," sang Jack. "I have magical beans." He started to explain about the man he had met, but his mother was not listening. She was extremely cross. She took the beans and she threw them out of the window. Jack was sent to his bedroom. He lay down on his little bed and cried himself to sleep. The next morning, Jack woke up and noticed that his bedroom was darker than usual. A shadow fell across the room. He ran outside to investigate. Jack was astounded by what he saw in the garden. Overnight, the beans had grown into a gigantic beanstalk. It was thicker than the trunk of an ancient tree and covered in healthy green leaves. It was the most amazing plant that he had ever seen. The beanstalk went up, 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 high into the clouds. He couldn't see the top of it. "I will climb this beanstalk," said Jack, feeling just like Dorothy determined. Jack was fit and strong and started to climb the beanstalk with ease. However, the higher he climbed, the harder it got to find things that he could grab onto. And soon his limbs, his arms, and his legs started to tire. "I must go on," he said to himself firmly. He grasped the beanstalk and climbed higher up into the clouds until eventually he reached the very top. And there Jack saw an enormous castle. As he stepped closer, he realized that even the door was far bigger than any door he'd ever seen before. It had been left slightly ajar, and Jack was able to sneak inside. He stared in amazement. All the furniture was huge. The chairs and tables towered above him like skyscrapers. There was a bowl of water on the floor for a cat or a dog to drink from, but it was so big that Jack could have bathed in it. Suddenly, the floor underneath Jack's feet began to shake, and Jack heard a loud rumbling noise. His heart was beating loudly in his chest as he scurried quickly inside a cupboard to hide. A colossal giant marched into the room. Jack peered nervously through a hole in the cupboard door. The giant's face was covered by a big, bushy brown beard. He had rosy cheeks, and there was not one single hair on the top of his head. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman, bellowed the giant menacingly. Jack shivered with fear. The terrifying giant sat down at the table. On the table was a hen and a golden harp. The glittering harp caught Jack's eye, and although he was petrified, he watched with fascination. What was it? Lay, said the giant, and the hen laid an egg, not just an ordinary egg, but one made of solid gold. Jack was mesmerized by the bright, shining egg as he watched through the hole in the cupboard door. Can you see him peeping out there? Sing, said the giant, and the harp sang a beautiful, calming song, which came out and seemed to cast a sort of spell over the giant because he soon fell asleep. When Jack was certain that the giant was fully asleep, he crept out from his hiding place and skillfully climbed up the table leg and onto the tabletop. He grabbed the hen and the harp and made a daring leap down to the ground. The hen nestled happily under Jack's arm, but the harp was alarmed to be grabbed by a stranger. As Jack headed towards the door, the harp cried, "Help, master!" Oh no. The harp's shouting woke up the snoozing giant. He jumped up from his chair and spotted Jack. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman, he roared. The giant started to chase Jack. Jack didn't stop to look behind him. He ran with all his might. The giant got closer and closer. The giant's strides were fast, so he was able to catch up with Jack quickly. Jack reached the beanstalk and started to climb back down it. He was breathing very quickly and his heart was racing. It was not easy climbing down that beanstalk while holding onto a hen and a harp. I should say not. The beanstalk shook. Jack looked upwards. The giant had got onto the beanstalk and was climbing down after him. When Jack reached the bottom of the beanstalk, he stumbled onto the ground, utterly exhausted. "Help!" he shouted at the top of his voice. "Help!" He knew that the giant wasn't far behind him. Jack's mother came rushing towards the beanstalk with an axe in her hand. Without hesitation, she sprinted to the base of the beanstalk and began chopping at it frantically. The beanstalk began to wobble, and a loud cry came from above. "Ah!" The giant fell and crashed to the ground, but was never seen again. Jack hugged his mother. "Oh, thank you, Mum," he smiled, still out of breath and still shaking all over. "I'm so glad you have come back, Jack," she whispered and looked at him lovingly. Jack's mother was delighted with the golden harp and the hen. The harp now seemed happy to call Jack his new master, and the hen quickly started to lay eggs on Jack's command. In fact, Jack was able to sell the golden eggs and buy Daisy back. They never had to worry about having enough money again. And they all, can we join in? They all lived happily ever after. That is the end of the story. Now, like I say, there are lots of different versions of that story, but I thought this was a good one. And it's very nice for you to be able to look at the words over and over again and see if you can spot those phonemes. You might spot some words you can read. I think you will. Anyway, have a nice weekend, and I will see you again on Monday. And that is the end of the story.